want to speak to Nobbins first of all. Of course, born and bred Manchester City fan. A terrible day for you as an individual and as a club. What's your initial reaction to it?
Yeah, so it was a terrible day after the Spurs defeat. I then wake up to this news, but more importantly, my shower broke this morning, so that just added to the doom and gloom in my house. I know, outrageous scenes. So full disclosure, I'm a lawyer and a fully qualified solicitor, so I'm going to pop my solicitor hat on for this section of the video in terms of my response to it. I think a lot is being made of. I think people are getting very excited about the potential breaches, and potential repercussions. A lot's been made of titles being stripped, point deductions, etc., etc. This is a case 4 years in the making. It's not going to be resolved this season. It's certainly not going to be resolved this year. This is going to take years to come to a resolution. So people hoping for a points deduction this season, that ain't happening. People hoping for titles to be stripped, based on this is sort of unprecedented, but if we compare it to the two examples in the top 5 leagues, where a similar situation has happened, where we look at the mid-noughties Serie A bribing scandal, and we look at the French league early 90s bribery scandal, in those situations, the league title wasn't what was retrospectively awarded to second place. So I've seen lots of Liverpool fans getting very excited, saying, "Oh, Gerrard's going to have a Premier League title, and we actually won the 2019 league title." None of that's going to happen. I'm afraid to say, didn't happen in Italy, didn't happen in France. It's not going to happen right now. Also, the situation in Italy and France were criminal charges. There is no allegation of bribery or criminality here. This is much more of a civil matter. So the two are not comparable. Lots of allegations have been made. What I would say is that I don't know the full details of them. This is going to be a mainly private situation. But a lot of this has been carried over from the UEFA investigation into Manchester City, where City beat those allegations. There are a couple of different elements, but the key core principle is the same in respect of UEFA's investigation and the Premier League investigation. Now, City beat those allegations from UEFA because UEFA weren't able to prove their case. In the second instance, there were things that were time barred. Now, that is where it could be interesting because what time barred basically means is that it happened too long ago for it to be relevant. The Premier League doesn't have anything like that, so it's not relevant how long ago these other breaches took place. So that will be the only question mark of whether the time-barred ones are relevant. But based on what City have said, they seem to be very happy. In fact, I think they've actually welcomed it to an extent, saying, well, we can finally clear our name. And then just like, sorry, I know I've talked a lot there. And then I just want to say that one final thing, which I thought was really funny. I haven't looked at all of the breaches yet. I'm trying to do a deep dive into all the alleged breaches. Obviously, there's a lot of FFP stuff. As I said, it's like over 100 counts. But one which I thought was really funny was alleged breach of Premier League rule article K20. And it reads, the height of the pitch grass shall not exceed 30 millimeters, and the entire playing surface must be cut to the same height. So I'm not saying that they're all superfluous claims. Obviously, some of them are like very serious allegations, but this does whiff of, we're trying to get the numbers up to make it seem more bad than it is from the Premier League's perspective. And I'm sure we'll get onto it, but I don't think it's a coincidence that there is a government white paper tomorrow being released in respect of this. Yeah. Sorry, I know I've talked a lot there, sorry.
No, I think everything you've said there, I was listening to, I didn't know you were a solicitor actually, but a solicitor speak on the radio earlier today, and they said don't expect a resolution in anywhere between the next 12 to 18 months, which I understand. City will drag this on forever. There's an independent inquiry. So this is going to take a long time to get resolved. I also agree with you. I don't personally think any club's going to retrospectively be handed those Premier League titles. Although I think if you are proven to have cheated, depending on the degree of the cheating, I think that should happen because you've essentially stopped other teams from winning it. The same as if a 100-meter sprinter dopes up and makes himself faster, and the guy who came second probably would have won that. So it's going to be interesting to see. As a fan, though, how worried are you? Taking off your lawyer hat and yourself as a solicitor, how worried are you that, because whether or not they scrape it off historically from the records and other teams are awarded it, if you're proven to have cheated to get to where you are, football will not recognize City as having won titles. The Stretford End will probably put up its banner showing now 45 years since you won a trophy. Are you worried about the history under the Sheikh being deleted from football?
It's a very good question. Honestly, you mentioned that there's always going to be, if this gets proven, there's always going to be little asterisks next to those trophies. To be honest, I think loads of fans already do that to City, regardless of, like, nothing could have happened here, and loads of people are already saying, well, your titles don't mean anything anyway due to that. So from a fan perspective, as City fans, we've already got to sort of embrace the fact that we're the most hated club that no one actually cares about, if that makes any sense.
This guy's spitting facts. Keep going, man. I'm loving this.
So now, obviously, in an ideal world, there wouldn't be anything like that. But it's very hard to sort of draw the line of where you can reasonably say, this therefore led to you winning a title illegitimately, because it was very easy to do in France in the early 90s and very easy to do in Italy in the mid-noughties. There was clear evidence of individual fixtures being altered due to bribery. It's very hard to legitimately identify and go, you've spent, I don't know the exact figures, as I say, it's mainly all private, but for example, you spent an extra £250 million over 10 years when you're not allowed to. It's very hard then to go, right, so that's an average of 25 million a year for 10 years. How
yeah, well, I think you make a great point. It all depends on what and where. So for instance, if between 2009 and 2012, and I use that as a prime example because the Aguero moment happened, if in that period you cook the books to a point where you were able to spend, and they can prove you were able to spend an extra £150 million on players, you would look at who you were able to buy with that money and pay those salary to. And if you look at it and they say, listen, there's no way you would have been able to afford Aguero. There's no way you would have been able to afford David Silva if he hadn't already come in by then. I'm just throwing some names out. I don't know the exact dates at all, but I know Aguero was bought that season. Then you start to look at it and you look at the players that were influential for you, the players that delivered. And I just think you get to a stage where there's a case of, I mean, you literally wouldn't have had the Aguero moment if you hadn't signed Aguero. It's part of it. And I think that's where rival fans are going to come in here. And I want to go to Patrick, because I haven't really heard from you on this at all today. As a rival looking at this, I think we can all safely say it's an allegation. We'll see what comes out in the wash. But standing from the side, I mean, do you first of all think City have done it? And if so, what level of punishment do you think they should face from the English Premier League?
Let's be clear. I think, to be fair, I think all clubs cheat. All clubs will cook the books and doctor things in a way to manipulate stats and figures and basically help their team out. We all do it. I say we all, as in every club will do what they can to legitimately get an advantage. Terry, one of the first things when I saw this, I came to you and said, what does this actually mean? Will it stick? Because we've seen Chelsea, City, we've seen loads of teams go through this before and nothing ever happens. And yeah, I think it's going to drag on and drag on and drag on. And eventually City have got so much money, they get away with it anyway. So even if they have done stuff, and then, like if it's done in a certain time frame and they just drag it and drag it and drag it, they won't be able to convict them. So yeah, I don't know, man. Will it really stand up? Will they ever be prosecuted? Will it mean something where it actually, basically gives a positive impact to the teams around, like, i.e. they're not allowed to bring in transfers or they're not allowed to sign anyone because they can't go back and strip them from titles and stuff. I don't see that happening. But if they can say, City can't sign X amount of players for, 2 transfer windows like they did with Chelsea, or then it does impact them and gives everyone else a bit of an advantage, so to speak.
Actually, can I just ask a quick question? I mean, maybe nobody may actually sort of understands before I give my view. So what is the difference between what happened with Modri and Calciopoli in 2006 and what happened with Juve this season as opposed to what is happening with City now? So what is the difference between those two?
So the difference with the Italian league scandal in the mid-noughties was there was a criminal investigation. People went to prison because it was to do with bribery and actually fixing matches. What's happened with Juve this season, what's allegedly happening with City's allegations isn't a criminal matter. It's to do with financial irregularities.
No, but then okay, so cool. 06. But this season, Juve were docked 15 points.
Yeah, but
Obviously.
so in terms of a few people have commented saying this must be criminal. It's hard to know without knowing all the details. But if you're twisting things to ensure you can compete in a football competition, the only way you get done for financial fraud in England is if you're cheating Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs. Then it's criminal. Outside of that, to be able to compete, it isn't. If you're cooking your books in a business so you can get a cheaper insurance, that insurance company could get you prosecuted. But it doesn't appear that City have done anything that would be deemed illegal. The allegations are essentially what they're doing is this: Sheikh Mansour is starting a business that's based out of Abu Dhabi that does X, Y, and Z, but it's not a real business. It's like a proxy business that just pumps money into the club, but it's him funneling it from the other end. That is like the basics of it. There's a company that was supposedly paying Mancini £4 or £5 million a year to do training to coach the City team outside of his normal working hours. A bit like when I used to teach kickboxing, the kids and the grown-ups would pay a monthly fee to train at the club I was at. But they could pay me for private lessons externally, which was money that came directly to me. But it looks like these private coaching sessions that Mancini was giving to the City players was paid for by a company owned by Sheikh Mansour. So essentially, it was him paying him. And what the Premier League believe, and they think they can prove it, is they offered him a package of, say, I'm making this number up here because they haven't shown the details, 15 million a year, but could only afford to pay him 8 million a year because they didn't have the revenue. But the Sheikh was paying him the rest of it on the side from a company he created. The Premier League believe that's against their FFP regulations. So it's not a criminal act. It would be a civil matter between the Premier League and Man City. That's why it's not deemed criminal. Yeah.
So look, my view, I'm 100% with Patrick on this. We knew these guys were doing this stuff years ago. We knew it. Like everyone, I actually remember having a conversation with someone years ago saying that, do you know, like these guys have an endless amount of money. So all they need to do is, my guy, we need 50 mil, 40 mil, 80 mil. Yeah, who cares? Let's just funnel it through. So we knew that. I'm like, where are you getting this money from? This money seems endless. And we knew that they're obviously not following the proper financial regulations that everyone knew this. So let's be real. The worst that's going to happen is they'll be fined. They're not going to get thrown out. They're not going to have points to deduct it. You're not going to have ties. So everyone's getting really excited because, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to City? Let's be real. These guys have some of the best lawyers in the world because they can afford some of the best lawyers in the world. So they'll find whatever piece of text to allow them to get away with this. But my thing is, FFP is a joke, and football is always going to head this way. Like I have like a kind of crazy view that I don't know how long it will be. 10, 15, 20 years, football is going to destroy itself because of greed. Anytime something becomes really popular, people get greedy and money just comes in. And I just feel that the City owners, they're just the tip of the iceberg. This is going to continue. And I just think that football is just going to spiral out of control, and your financial fair plays and so forth are not going to do anything because everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to see the product thrive. So I don't see any serious punishments happening. The worst is going to be a hefty fine. That's it.
Okay, I just want to stop for a second and just go back to what you just said. Even if they don't get hit with a heavy fine, they get caught and down the line, 6, 7 years, 4 years, however long it takes. When they do get charged, or when they do get some sort of actual punishment at the end of this, it's going to be determined based on the fact that they stopped the initial, they disputed the initial charges. Won't they get punished more if they are found guilty? Not for everything, but even for a little bit. Wouldn't they still be punished severely? Like, I'm not thinking this is going to be something that's going to just go away easily, unless City pretty much destroy all of the claims except for the ones where it's like minor. They have to basically dispute almost everything. And with the type of evidence they might have, they wouldn't go into this. against City or against any football club if they don't have concrete evidence already that they could bring to the table. So I'm waiting to see. I'm not saying City are guilty or innocent, but I'm just saying if they do fight it in the courts and it drags on, the punishment will be severe for City if they lose. And I don't believe they're going to go through all the court system and everything and then just be like, you know what, here's a small fine. That's unrealistic. Let's be real.
Go on, Patrick.
You know what? There's a saying in Africa, right? When the wind blows in the village, everybody's chicken, their asses will show. I am from Africa and I listen to these things. What I'm trying to say is this. A lot of fans this morning, and I have been popular today. Even my YouTube went from numbers from 1,600 to 1,900 right now, just because people want to see me cry. Funny thing is, right now, City fans are popular. But the thing is, people have to remember this. I like what Patrick has said. You have to be careful. Everybody's laughing, but every club has got dirt behind them. Because somebody said on ESPN that, okay, let's say they find a City guilty with all these small things they're pushing at. It looks like some of these things are pushing. They are like going to another extreme to make sure they stick. They're throwing 100 things at City that, oh, one of them will stick. We'll see how it goes. What if now City say, okay, you found us, right? And maybe there's a settlement or the club's reputation has been tarnished. Then we say, let's have transparency in the club. I'm pretty sure a lot of clubs will be sweating. Even right now, as we speak there, I bet you some big clubs or some clubs are cleaning up a few things, saying, let's not be the next City. Because I'm telling you, I have done business before, obviously in my country. We are corrupted. Let me admit, we're very corrupted. When I got into business in my country, when my dad told me that you have to make sure who this guy's and this guy's pocket is full, I looked at my dad and said, wow, my own father. But anyway, I'm not trying to say bad things on my dad, but I'm saying every club right now.
You got to play the game. You got to play the game.
Yeah, you got to play the game. That's what I'm saying. At the end, it's going to come out. I think
think-
this might actually have a domino effect at the end.
I think it may. I'm going to be very arrogant here. As a Man United fan with the revenue we have, I hope it does. Man United have no reason to do this. And if we have been cooking the books and we're still £1 billion in debt, those accounts deserve to go to prison and we deserve to be relegated. So as a United fan, you don't cook the books and they're not getting worse financially, in my opinion. No one ever does that.
Harry, let me just add one thing. I think one thing Patrick said makes a lot of sense is if they do implement new rules, it would be to what they've already been talking about, like rule changes with ownership, rule changes with like trying to bring more regulation amongst